The issues affecting you. Revealed, explained, discussed. Now on WGAL 8 in Focus.
Hello, I'm Susan Shapiro. Speranza Animal Rescue in Cumberland County is a volunteer organization that helps the most abused and neglected animals. Janine Guido founded the organization 13 years ago during her long journey with mental illness. She's now written a book, Rescued by Hope, about her experiences with her illness and the rescue. We're talking with Janine about her past, her present, and the future. We're putting Rescued by Hope, Janine Guido's story, and Speranza Animal Rescue in focus. And joining us now is Janine Guido to talk about her book and her mental health journey. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I don't want to say I enjoyed this book, but I did enjoy the book. There were so many parts that were difficult to read. You start this book with a very graphic scene in the bathroom where you're vomiting as the result of bulimia. Correct. Why did you do it that way?
I think I just wanted to grab the reader's attention from the get-go, because obviously I want them to read the book the whole way through. So I thought, like, you know, from the first couple words, like, I just want to draw them in and get them invested in the book. So
bulimia is an eating disorder where you eat food and then vomit. How did that start for you?
It started when I was in the 5th grade. I remember food had just become like pretty much a comfort for me when I was dealing with like different emotions, and then I would just binge to the point where I would just feel so sick. So I started going to the bathroom and I would purge to get it out of me, and it just became like this horrible cycle, and it was a daily thing for years and years and years. It literally consumed my life.
And I assume you hid that from a lot of people.
Yeah, nobody knew about it until I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like to hide that secret so many years?
It was scary. It was very lonely, terrifying, and exhausting. Very, very exhausting, trying to, you know, put on a happy face and just act like one of the other kids, you know. But inside, you're slowly dying. You're fighting your demons daily, and it's just so hopeless feeling. It's a horrible feeling.
And speaking of demons, you had what I would consider a demonic voice in your head that followed you for many years. Tell me about Rose.
Rose was absolutely terrifying. It wasn't like it wasn't like my voice internally. It was literally like a demonic voice that would just tell me to do bad things to myself. And I mean, imagine being in 5th grade or preteen and hearing this, you know. It's just like, I was like, am I crazy? Like, what is going on? And I was too scared to talk to anybody about it, because I thought I would just be like, I don't even know, it's just not something you talked about, you know. All the other kids seemed so happy, and there was me just sitting there, and I'm just fighting these daily struggles and these inner demons, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah.
You must know, I guess, rationally, this is not someone talking to you, but then again, you believe it, right?
Yeah, correct, absolutely. Thankfully, she's no longer with me. Medications helped her go away, and I'm very, very thankful for that, because she scared the crap out of me.
Wow. What? Oh, boy. And Janine, at one point you did attempt suicide. You took an entire bottle of Tylenol. Was that
PM? Yes.
Was that to commit suicide?
Yes. Yeah. I just wanted it all to be over. Just to shut off the noise in my head. Just to stop the sadness. I also did self-harm by cutting and stuff. And I just wanted it to be done. I remember I drove home from work that night, and something had me upset. I couldn't even tell you what. Stopped at the gas station right by my boyfriend's house, got the Tylenol PM, went home, took the bottle, and a couple hours later I was woken up by Bo, my boyfriend. And that's kind of where everything was like, it was crazy. I shouldn't have survived that night. The doctor said, you know, her organs are shutting down. She's not gonna make it. Get your family members in here, have them say their goodbyes. And so yeah, that was pretty much supposed to be it, but it wasn't. I had a bigger purpose. So.
There was a reason it wasn't, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So Bo really saved your life.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, God love him. We'd only been together probably a couple months, and he comes in and finds me on the couch, like unconscious and strung out on Tylenol PM, and he stuck with me, and he fought for me, you know, over the years, and he still does. So he's been my rock for sure.
You've had a lot of supportive people,
Yeah.
including him, and your parents have been very supportive,
My friends,
and your sister.
Yeah, I'm very, very blessed. Now the volunteers, since starting the rescue, they are just lifesavers in so many ways. Yeah, I'm very, very blessed.
All right, well, Janine, stay with us. We'll talk more about your diagnosis at the age of 18
Yep.
and the treatment that you've undergone as we continue.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus, coverage you can count on.
We continue our conversation with Janine Guido, who has just published a book called Rescued by Hope about her rescue organization and her journey with mental illness. Thanks so much again for being here. At 18, you were diagnosed with severe clinical depression and bipolar disorder. Was that a relief in some way, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, I would say it was a relief. It was scary, absolutely terrifying to hear those words. I was like, you know, am I clinically insane? Like, you know, very terrifying, but at the same time, to know that there was a word to describe what was going on with me, I think it was a relief, yeah.
And at that point, you were hospitalized and you were treated, but it wouldn't be the first time. You were in and out of hospitalization stays.
Yeah, from about 18 to 25, I was in and out of psych wards multiple times. Sometimes it was only a couple weeks, sometimes it'd be months or more. But yeah, I was a frequent flyer, you could call it, yeah.
What was that like for you?
You know, at one point when I was in there, I actually enjoyed it, and it's weird to say that, but it had become like the new norm for me, and I knew like the routine, and the people that were in there, I considered them like my family and friends. I had talked about some in the book, and I mean, God love them. The one lady, she's probably still there. She had no idea where she was even at in the life or in the world, but you connect with them in a weird way. But yeah.
And this is still an ongoing struggle for you?
Absolutely. I had just gotten out of a 4-month depression this year, from about May to just like a month ago. I literally laid in bed for 4 months and gained about 70 pounds because I find comfort in food, and yeah, it's a daily thing. I mean, my meds needed adjusted, and the worst feeling is when you lay there and just pray for relief. And I actually asked my boyfriend, I was like, you know, am I ever going to be happy again? But thank God my meds are starting to get regulated, and I'm coming out of it, so.
And at one point you found a really good doctor who wasn't going to give up on you, right?
Yeah, correct. And he was a changing point in my recovery, or my journey, I guess you could say.
Do you think there's still a stigma about mental illness?
Absolutely. And that is probably the main reason I wrote this book. Yeah. I want people to know that, you know, talking about mental illness and mental health should not be something you're ashamed of. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It should become something that's like a norm, like in a way, to talk about. Getting help, that's huge. Asking for help, just do it. You know, you shouldn't have to suffer. You are not alone. There are so many people out there that are going through what you're going through, and that is the reason behind the book.
Yeah, and I love some of the writing in the book. You wrote at one point, I've lived in a tunnel with no visible light at the end of it.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that's how I felt.
Is there light at the end of the tunnel now?
Yeah, there is. Some days it's hard to see it, but there is. There's always hope.
And you want people to know that,
Yeah,
don't you?
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I've had some people reach out to me thanking me for sharing my story, and that just means the world to me, to know that it's helping some other people, even if just one person. To me, that just means so much.
And along the way, you have certainly helped a lot of animals. We'll talk more about the Speranza Rescue and the animals that have been there.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus, coverage you can count on.
We continue our conversation with Janine Guido, who's the founder of Speranza Animal Rescue, and Ashley Maurice, who's a volunteer at the rescue, along with Skipper, who is one of your French bulldogs who
Correct.
you keep at the rescue.
Correct.
Part of your French mafia, as you
Yes.
refer to it in the book.
Yes.
This whole thing started with a dog named Franny. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Franny, I found her on the side of the road driving back to my boyfriend's house one night, and she was thin, and it was obvious she had been abused and neglected and most likely dumped to die. And it took me a little bit to earn her trust and get her in my car, but I was able to. And she just kind of started the whole rescue idea. Seeing an animal that had given up on hope and on themselves reminded me of myself. And I saw a lot of me in Franny. And I remember I went to my dad's work the next day, and I walked in his office, and I was like, "Hey, Dad." He's like, "What?" And I was like, "I want to start an animal rescue." And he was like, "Are you?" He just looked at me like I had 10 heads. He's like, "What?" And that's how the journey started. So.
But
yeah.
he was supportive,
He
right?
was supportive.
Yeah.
He was supportive.
And we should add, many people ask you, is Judge Guido your father?
Yes,
And yes, he is. So
he
he's
is.
been very
Yes.
supportive
Yeah,
along this.
very, very supportive. in many
Ashley,
ways.
you contacted Janine about a dog, and that's how you two met, and correct?
Yes, that is correct. I ended up meeting Janine whenever I had received an email about a dog being beaten in the head with a fry pan, and it happened to be Hugo. So then I reached out to Janine, and that's how I ended up volunteering and becoming a part of Speranza.
And Hugo was deaf.
Yes, that's correct. He was deaf.
Do you think that's why he maybe had what people thought were behavioral issues?
Oh, absolutely. If a dog can't hear you, then they can't understand what you want them to do, and I'm sure it was very scary for him to not hear the world.
Janine, you seem to have a special rapport when you read about all the animals you have come in contact with. Do you feel like you're speaking to them and likewise?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, they're my kids for sure, through and through. Yeah. Yeah. The animals are my saving grace. They're my children. Yeah, we get each other for sure.
You write very often, you can't believe a human being would treat a dog, from acid being thrown on one dog to dogs being beaten, as you say. What does that, make you feel about human nature, that somebody who can do that?
Being an animal rescue, you absolutely see the worst in humans, but you also, at the end of the day, see the best, because those will be your supporters and your volunteers and your donors. So it truly evens out. But yeah, you see some pretty messed up stuff, and it's very disheartening and just heartbreaking.
Yeah, what's it like to have people like Ashley come forward as volunteers?
Amazing. They're amazing. They are absolutely lifesavers in so many ways.
What do you like about it, Ashley?
Well, what is there not to like is the question. No, I love everything I'm very fortunate that I get to work with the dogs multiple days a week. So again, I just love being able to watch a dog transform from being at where it comes in scared, feral, and then all of a sudden just to watch the dog flourish is just amazing.
Yeah, it takes a lot, though.
Yeah.
But this is not always such a safe business.
No.
You've been attacked, bitten.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. To me, it's just part of the rescue world. It's scary, but it never deters me from. I don't blame one dog's action and label all dogs aggressive because of one dog. So it's just something you deal with.
At one point, Ashley came to your rescue?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I literally had my lip was
Yes.
hanging off my face, and then I had this wide open, about there. And at first I didn't realize I got bit that bad until I looked up and saw Ashley's face, and she's like, "You've got to go to the hospital." And I was like, "Okay." There's a lot of blood, and that was about it. And they gave me a towel, and she's like, "Just don't look in the mirror." And about 3.5 hours of stitching me up, and it healed pretty good, considering. Yeah.
You'd never know.
Yeah,
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
But what makes you go back? Some might say, "Oh, okay, I'm done
Right.
with this."
Yeah, I think it's just once it's in you, it's in you. Rescue is just part of you. It's my saving grace. So.
You call it rescued by hope,
Yeah.
and that hope is also an animal, correct?
Yep. She was actually my first behavioral dog. She bit me, and she was not happy. I honestly thought she had rabies. That's how mad at the world she was. And just seeing her transform, I was like, wow. Like, that feeling is indescribable, to get a dog's trust when they come so angry. And it's amazing, amazing.
What do you think this has done for you, Ashley, working there?
I feel like it's definitely instilled in me that there is beauty in the world, that there's so much beauty at the rescue. When you come there and you get to see what we get to do on a daily basis, just a little piece of heaven. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
But as you said, it's not always easy to run a rescue. There's a lot of work. There's money is always needed to be raised.
Yeah, it's exhausting. But it's worth it, you know. Yeah.
All right. Well, one of your well-known dogs, although you've had a few, is certainly Libre. And we're going to talk about Libre and how Libre inspired Libre's Law.
This is WGAL8 in Focus, coverage you can count on.
Janine Guido is here talking about her new book, Rescued by Hope, and her rescue, Speranza. In addition to Speranza, which means hope, you have names like Fishy, Jersey Boy, Benjamin Button, G.I. Joe. How do you come up with all these clever names for the animals?
Sometimes there's a story behind them, like Fishy, he was found on Fishing Creek Road. Jersey Boy, he came from New Jersey. Some of them just pop into my head, and I'm like, hey, you look like Benjamin Button, and it sticks.
Well, they're great names.
Thanks.
And of course, one of the most well-known names of dogs is Libre, which means free.
Yes.
Tell me about the story, how you came to rescue Libre.
Yeah, Libre, July 4th, 2016, I got messaged by Officer Niels, and she sent me a picture of a dog that literally I didn't even know it was alive from the picture, laying just pretty much unconscious in a dirt pen, and she said, can you help? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, get the dog to the ER vet in Lancaster, because that's where that was found, and I'll be there in like an hour. So drove down, saw him, smelled him before I saw him. The infection was so bad. He was oozing pus, he had maggots in his skin folds, he was ice cold, and the vet suggested euthanasia. But I said no, you know, if he wouldn't be alive if he didn't want to fight at this point. So next day he survived, and I drove him to Dillsburg Vet, and that's where things kind of blew up, and his story was like wildfire.
You posted some of that video that you shot of him.
I did, and it got like over 1 million views. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, holy crap, like, wow. And like our follower base like doubled overnight, and I was like, wow, this is incredible that so many people are touched by this little dog. And it was a heck of a story, and it just so many emotions with that rescue.
How did Libre's Law come about, which helped, boost the animal cruelty law in Pennsylvania?
So I think people were mad because charges weren't filed or pressed against his previous owner, and that just kind of sparked outrage. And then Senator Alloway reached out to us and wanted to meet Libre, and he said, I have an idea about introducing a new law, and we would call it Libre's Law. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And then Kristen Tulo from HSUS got involved, and then Ryan Bizzarro, and just all came together, and it's just surreal, and in 2017 it passed unanimously.
Do you think the animal cruelty law is tough enough in Pennsylvania?
I don't know if it's a really good start. I think that with anything, there's always room for improvement. So, maybe we could add some more stuff to it, but it's a really good start, and it has been used, and it's definitely a good thing.
How's Libre doing?
He's good. He's so spoiled. He is so spoiled. My mom takes him to like training classes and like agility, and he does fly ball, I think it's called, and he loves it. He has a best friend named Winston, a golden retriever, and they love to play. And but he's pretty much retired from the spotlight. He's kind of over being famous, so he just lives his life on the farm.
You alluded to how much these dogs have helped you in your journey.
Sure.
A dog like Libre.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? You said you didn't think he was going to make it,
No.
but then he did.
Yeah, that was a sign that never give up. I really don't think Libre should have made it, but for some reason he did, and he had a point to prove, and he definitely proved it. So yeah.
And it sounds like your story.
Yeah,
You're doing such good work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's it like to run the rescue every day? I mean, obviously, you're always doing fundraising.
Yeah,
You're always
yeah.
working.
Yeah, it's a lot, not just physically, but mentally, but I have the best group of volunteers behind me and supporters, and I could not do it without each and every one of them.
And a lot of vets have helped you out along the way,
Yeah,
taking care of
yeah,
these animals.
Yeah, we have a great vet team behind us, and just some really, really compassionate people.
What would you like people to take away, not only from your story, but from the rescue of animals?
I would say, especially from my story, that, you know, never give up. There is always hope out there. Sometimes you'll find your purpose in a different way or a strange way, but we're all put on this earth for a reason, and I was lucky enough to find mine before it was too late.
Well, we're glad you found it
Thank
also,
you.
and it's a great read.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Help is available for anyone in need. You can always call or text 988 to connect with a counselor, or use the crisis text line for help. Just text PA to 741-741 to start the conversation. Thank you for joining us for WGAL 8 in Focus. For all of us at WGAL, I'm Susan Shapiro. Join us again next Sunday morning at 11 for WGAL 8 in Focus, right after NBC's Meet the Press. And you can watch each episode of In Focus, plus WGAL's latest newscasts, original programming, and more. Just download the Very Local app and stream for free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV.